Hello, hello, oh, hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Okay, thanks. How are you? Thank you. Is it good morning? Good. Oh, okay. Good. Uh, good morning. Okay, sorry. Hello. Good. Thank you, Kimberly. How are you? Well, okay. How are you? Question mark. Period. Like pause because I can't pause for an answer. And then sorry. Back to Good morning, Marissa. Good afternoon, Andrew. I didn't officially say good afternoon, Justin. Sorry. Good afternoon, Sarah. Good morning, Jenna. Good afternoon, Rachel. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Do doing okay. Okay, fair enough. Hi, sorry. I mean, fair. Okay, I'm going back. Hi, Heaven. Good morning, Abby. Okay. Hey, hey. That's like a noun and a verb. I mean, not well. Hey is also an. Anyway, hi, Ishan. Um, uh, sorry. This is. Oh, sorry. Okay, Brian. Okay, okay. Um, Okay. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay. That's probably. I'm not even sure if that note makes sense on the screen. Okay. Okay. Much to talk about. Number one, I believe, I hope, I think. Actually a little unclear, but I believe you got your exams back. Which is good all around. I was just trying to look up the average to let you know, but then I don't. I mean, obviously I could just compute it, but I thought Google Classroom was good for these sort of things, and there was a little, and it didn't give me the average yet, which actually just led me to be a little concerned. I'm thinking. I mean, I don't want to. I'm afraid to ask this, but you did get them, yes? Okay, okay, okay. Cool. Okay, cool. Hold on, you just okay. Hold on. Okay. So you do have them, and before we get into a whole, so I'm glad you have them. I'm glad you took them. I actually think you did well. I think you might have even done better than maybe you even think you did based on the numbers. I don't know. Okay, but wait, before we get into any, one of my problems is I know I basically invite group therapy constantly, and like if I'm not careful, this whole class could turn into that right now. So before it gets crazy town, I don't know. I will figure out the actual average. I was sort of hoping not to have to do any math. I thought Google Classroom would do it for me. I'll do it in a second. Oh wait, there's more people. Sorry. Um, as I think, as I said, I think the average was in the high 70s, low 80s, but I'll confirm that in a second. And um, impressionistically, really, or in my gut, I just do again want to repeat to everybody that whatever the numbers were, I think some of my biggest concerns or the biggest things that I was picky about or whatever have to do with how to communicate stuff to me or how to communicate it to yourselves. And that is a very correctable, learnable kind of thing. And it's also somewhat specific, I suppose, to physics or to me. Um, so, so in other words, I'm less worried about your physics command maybe than some of you might be right now. I'm actually thinking that people are getting it's pretty apparent, in fact, also that those of you who are paying any attention at all really are paying attention, in that what's on your test really did largely come from this class. Like it's very, very clear when something in any of those documents comes straight from some other physics source and not this class. And again, that's okay as long as you understand it, but it's also clear. And the truth is that there were many opportunities on this exam where a lot of it could have come from other places. And for the most part, no worries, no worries. Um, the truth is, I really, really, even if, again, and I don't want to over talk this, I actually want to get straight on to concrete ways that we can if your number one priority is grades, we're going to get to that in a second. And again, all the grades are still salvageable, believe me. Um, um, but just as your teacher, or whatever, let me say, I really do admire the fact that almost any moment that there's a bit there that came from somewhere that's not this class, it's obvious. It's not necessarily always wrong. I mean, it can be okay, but it is clear when that happens, and it didn't happen that much. Like really, really, I feel like you guys are struggling to figure out what the heck we're talking about in this class. It's even apparent in some cases where some people didn't really understand. It's still apparent that they actually really tried to look at the videos and make sense out of it or something. Like in other words, I can tell sometimes when you guys are even using my language, even though you're not comfortable with it, it's clear that you are trying to do that. And really, I am happy about all that. Okay. Okay. Take it easy. All right. Uh, okay. Let's also keep our own personal, like, okay, I, we'll have time to parent share stuff like that. I'm not even sure that's accurate, what's written there, but okay. Um, um, but, and again, there, a really important thing, and I have also come to believe, I used to be a super purist about things, like it was just all about the mind and all about the beauty of the universe and not at all about grades or money or whatever. And that got me into trouble in many cases. And then sometimes I'm overly practical. And then sometimes if you're too practical, if you're just going for the grade, I don't mean anybody in particular, but the flip side, and some of us have learned this too, is if you just go for the grade, besides the fact that maybe that's kind of superficial, sometimes if you just go for the grade, you can miss the grade, right? Because sometimes the way to get the grade is to actually go for the material and do it well, and then you get a good grade. Rather, if sometimes if you focus too much on the grade, you actually miss the material and then you miss the grade. Anyway, so we're trying to balance all of that here. I have found in my life that the best way to, well, a good way to balance both is to just always keep them distinct in your mind. Like it's okay to be super practical and it's okay to be super pure, but just know which one you're doing when, right? So we're going to try to keep doing both. We're going to try to keep that balancing act going before it is still the case that when all is said and done, anybody who wants to politely question or politely argue anything about their grade, you'll still have a chance. You can do that on this exam. You can do it even after your grade gets corrected. You can do it even, at the end of the semester. Like there's no statute of limitations about questioning things with me personally about your grade. But before we get into that whole, but I also don't think that each one of you wants to do that, or I don't want to do that with each one of you individually in the middle of a whole class period or something, right? So I guess, so one thing I want to say is, when this period is over, if there's still like a major, if any of you still has a major concern about something you don't understand, why something got taken off or something like that, totally your right to discuss it with me. I hope you'll discuss it with me politely. But let's just say that if that's still true by the end of the class, then please text me. And if we need to make a phone, text me about it on my. I'll give you the phone number again. If you have an issue with the grade, or I don't mean if you have an issue with, I mean if you have an issue with anything particular that led to your grade, right? Like I definitely don't want to entertain some conversation where someone's just like, why did I get an 80? Like, well, I don't know, but if you have a thing like, why are these points, I don't understand why these points right here were taken off. If after this whole class that's still the case, it may well be my error. It absolutely, like it could, of any kind, and I will happily entertain that. But please text me and give me time to deal with that with you. Like we might have to have a phone call if it's complicated, or I might have to go back and look at it. Just I'll give you time, but you give me time too, is what I'm to all of you. I'm saying, right? And I'm saying that also so that we can sort of take the air out of the grade balloon and know it's not a panic. There's, I know I make mistakes, but I don't want this all to be a bloodbath of that kind, publicly and stuff. So that's number one. When this class is over, if you're still got a concern, please text me, give me, and I might say, I'll talk to you about this tomorrow. Like, please understand that. Okay. So that's it. But what are we going to, but again, I also think, I know some of the numbers are lower than some of you would expect. I actually think, again, it's that what that just means is that now you're going to have a final exam that's formatted the same way. Because if all of you got 99s on this, I really would have to say, oh, this is not a good way to give exams, like, right? So that. I'm not, so don't take any of these numbers as a big personal attack on you or something like that. I really do still, and I also know people have bad days and blah, blah. Okay. So therefore, we have two things that are going to happen. One, you all were asked to submit a little plan to me for today of like a way that you were going to redo a problem, right, for Monday. To be honest, I have not looked at your plans yet because I was still scrambling to finish these exams. So I will get, I will communicate with each one of you about your plans, like through Google Classroom after this class. And if I have to postpone the deadline of that assignment, I will. Like, that's not a crisis. But that was one way we were going to try to get some points back. But the other thing we're going to do today is we will do some test corrections, or at least we will have the opportunity to do some test corrections today to get some points back. Okay. This is a little bit more, this you can help other people, but this is more about your own exam. So I don't really expect, you don't need to work with other people on this. You can no, I totally do. Oh my God. Oh my God. I totally saw that coming. Oh my God. That is hilarious, by the way. Okay. I'm going to pretend not to see that. Oh my God. And by the way, if I don't love you guys, we're all really in trouble because, well, anyway, no, I really do. Okay. And especially for that. Okay. Yeah, oh my God. Okay. This class does also know how to push my buttons, man. I mean, man, anyway, okay. I'm going to step back. Right. So I will readdress that later. What we are going to do is we are going to have an opportunity for test corrections, like direct test corrections. What I think you might have even seen, I put it into Google Classroom. What we're going to do today is quietly in our private Idahos. And by the way, this is also optional. You obviously don't have to do this if you got 100 on the test or something like that, or you don't have to do it anyway. But anywhere you lost, what I will take happily from any and all of you is I'll take a redo on any or all full problems that you want to resubmit. Okay, and this is part of the deal. Is this like so say you lost a bunch of points on problem 3, i.e., part 3, the long thing. If you lost a bunch of points there and you want points back, you can get points back. I'm not saying you're going to get them all back. I'll explain in a second. You'll probably get like half to 3/4 back or something. I mean, I can't like literally end up giving everybody 100 on this thing, but you can get points back if you redo the full problem. That's like the one sort of annoying aspect is I don't want to take a bunch of fragments from people. So you can make a decision to redo problem 3 or redo problem 2, or you can do both, but I don't want little sub fragments. Okay. So anything you want points back, I want a clean version of the problem along the lines of what I've been suggesting the last 2 days, like really go to pains to say, to say like, this is the given, this is what we're trying to do. Here's some words of explanation, threading through my equations to show you what the equations mean, blah, blah, blah. If you redo problem 3 sort of carefully along those lines, and then reattach it to your old exam, so just so I can see, what the progress was, then I will probably give you half the points back, which is in effect like giving you all the points back and then averaging the 2 tests, if you know what I mean. I can explain that later, but I will happily take that. And I would like people to work on that now, just to also, so we can all feel like we've really nailed this material. Let me be slightly more clear too. Say you lost some points on problem 3. So you're going to redo problem 3. Sure, if I give you full credit for part A and part B, and it's just like part C that you're really worried about, sure, you can feel somewhat confident about basically recopying what you did for part A and part B. I'm not saying you have to reinvent the wheel. If I said that what you did for part A and part B were perfect, okay, you could pretty much recopy them, but I do want to see them again. In other words, part of this is practicing like context and coherence. I want whatever you give me to make sense on its own. Each problem makes some sense on its own. So you don't have to, right, if you did something right the first time, you can do it the same way again, but give me the whole problem again. And put a little extra love and a little extra juice into really making it clear, kind of like a lot, whatever I criticized you for, if you think I'm being overly critical, and I'm sure I am, or I'm sure you do think that in some areas, then just be overly responsive to the criticism. Just like beat me over the head. You could that's almost a sarcastic, that is almost a passive aggressive or quietly satisfying way of of shutting me up, if you know what I mean. If you think I'm making kind of too big of a deal over what I'm asking for in A, then you make kind of too big of a deal in what you give me back. And I will almost sense the mockery and the satire. And I will personally self-reflect and be like, all right, am I making too big of a deal of this? Right. But then you'll get your points back and I'll get my perfection back. And we'll all really feel like we've put this exam to bed. So what is going to happen, and I will look in the chat in a second, but basically what's going to happen today is we are going to quietly work again. We're going to work either on test corrections if we want to. And again, the only deal there is you got to give, like, you don't have to redo the whole test, but you do have to recopy a whole problem if you're giving me any part of that problem at all. You're going to reattach it to the old test and you're going to put it in the new assignment portal that I just put in called test corrections. And it's technically up to 100 points just because that's what the exam's worth. But anyway, or you can do that this period, or you can work on the other thing. The thing, they're both for extra points. The other thing, meaning what I mentioned on Monday, the go back over an old homework problem thing. That one you can do if you've already picked a partner and your partner picked you and you already, then I've pre-approved that. If two people have picked a partner and they both agree, you can rest assured that I'll approve that. So if you want to be working on that today, that is cool. But many of you are not in that situation. Like, I have not looked at all of your plans. So many of you don't know if I've approved your plan or not. So you can't necessarily do that. And I understand. So it's up to you this period. You can do test corrections for points, or you could start on the new little mini project for points if possible. I will look in the chat in a second. A couple other quick, I will look in the chat for a second. Well, hold on, let me just see. What was I forgetting? And I guess I know I'm beating this dead horse, but now that you have the exams in front of you, and I'm not disappearing either. Of course, I'm happy to sort of answer questions too. I'll also admit the reason I'm trying to have, I like the idea of a day of where you can process what you got back for sure and let it sink in and see. I always worry about a class period. I don't want a class period to degenerate into lots of personal questions about why exactly something happened on their personal exam, because that can get weird in many ways, right? So I'm trying to kind of avoid that. I am trying to tell you all that I will personally address personal things outside the context of class. But what I do want, now that you have the numbers in front of you, or now that you have the marks in front of you, and of course some of them are illegible and things like that, I do want to like reinforce what the gold standard that we're going for here. The gold standard is that you want to give me a document that makes the questions clear without recopying the questions. I mean, that is a fine line, but that is what I want. In other words, even at the end of the day, some of you on your actual exam even did include the original questions. I really, or even wrote on them. I really don't want that. I really want your exam to be like a blue book, like not with the original questions. Now, admittedly, again, fine line here. What some of you did do is something that I did advise for the homework, a clever thing that is right on the edge. Some of you did it, like you would include a page of the questions, but then I know you were listening to me because you actually did exactly what I said for homework, but this is confused. I didn't really mean for it to be for the exam, but some of you did do that thing where you give me the question, but you didn't write on it or anything, but then I turned the page of the question and then all of your work was on separate sheets right after there. That was very considerate. Like, and I didn't take off points if you did that, because sure, then you're just showing me the question so I don't have to flip around, but then you are still giving me fully contained blank sheets of your own. I appreciate that, but even that, like even when you include the questions, you have to be very careful, because the tendency is, if you include the question, the tendency is for then you, the student, to then think the questions speak for themselves. So now that you've included them, you can just like do your work. But that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. Yes, I don't want to have to flip to another document and see what the questions are. That's correct. But also, I want you to make it super clear to me that you really get what the question is. And often that doesn't really happen until you're forced to write it your way yourself. And so for many of you, that's possibly all that you're worrying about today. You may have gotten a lot of correct answers, but you're just sort of worrying about, how do I present these answers to a reader in a manner that absolutely makes the question explicit, without literally copying it word for word. If you copy the question word for word, it doesn't show that you understand what the question is, right? Blah, blah, blah. All right. So that's what I'm looking for today. I'm going to pause for a second and look in the chat. Oh, I'm sorry. Heaven. Yes.
So is that what it means by what's the cue?
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, exactly. Sorry. Right. So yeah, and again to everybody, yes. No, I'm glad she has that. And also you could say, oh, this is like a weird Yaverbaum thing. Like we never had to do this in chemistry or so, and that may be true. Like this may be the first time that anybody's being this picky about such a weird standard, which is again to everybody. And I'm not just saying this to Heaven, I'm saying it to everybody. Like I'm over talking this because I do understand that it may be new to many of you, and therefore it takes some practice. So this is not, that's why I want like many chances for us to correct this. But yeah, but I also, just to be honest too, I don't think I'm making this up. I mean, I think I learned this is sort of the way I was brought up in physics. This is what I had to do. Maybe it's more of a physics thing, a physics journal thing than a chemistry journal thing. That I don't know. But yeah, I'm really looking for your physics. And again, this is all of you. I mean, I'm glad Heaven just said that. And yeah, often I did write that by the end when I got lazy. What's the cue? But to all of you, the standard is you want to give me physics work that makes sense on its own. It's like we're in a conversation. I'm asking you stuff, but then you're responding stuff, and your responses still have to be complete thoughts in and of themselves. Like they should be thoughts that make sense and show the question, even if someone else didn't hear the original question. But I know Heaven gets that. I think everybody gets that. One other note on that too, just reminded me. One thing that is subtle, that does take a lot of practice. Like I think everybody knows this, but it takes a ton of practice, and it's part of what I'm trying to get us to practice. One thing that's really part of physics work is the interspersing of English with diagrams with equations, particularly the interspersing of English with equations. That is a tough thing to do. I mean, by the way, especially if English is not your first language, right? I mean, like then it's even harder to do. And I'm very sympathetic to that. But even if English is your first language, like this idea of like of knowing how to balance, like how many equations you have to write before you have to explain why you're writing equations. That is the art of the science. I can't give you an exact formula on that, but I can tell you that once you have like a block of equations, it's like 6 equations long, and there hasn't been any comment of English or any kind of like arrow or diagram or anything, then it's probably a good sign that somebody needs to pause. Like 5 equations in a row. Again, even in physics journals, in physics articles, physicists don't write like that. They can't follow it. Like what they generally do is they write stuff, and then they put like an equation in the center offset, and then maybe they'll make a substitution, divide both sides by 2 or whatever, and do another equation at 3. But even physicists will not expect equations to just speak for themselves after a point. Just like in English, if you're writing, once you've written like 5 or 7 sentences, usually people say, I think it's time for a paragraph break, yo. Like if you have a whole page of just English sentences and you haven't even indented or skipped one line or stopped a paragraph, that becomes too thick for readers, even though it's English, right? So it's that kind of like, think of this as a communication presentation exercise. You're showing the fit. Okay, and I know I'm over talking about communication, but that's what we're looking for. It's all a fine art. It's all part of why this is physics 204, not 203, maybe, blah, blah. But momentarily, I'm gonna look in the chat. Wait, I'm gonna look in the chat. Hold on. No, oh my God, both of you oh my God. I can't even, if I could actually, you're going to start hating me if I spend any more time expressing how much I really do love this class. It's going to get embarrassing and awkward to everybody, and it's going to be a waste of your time. Now, I'm going to think of ways to show, oh my God. No, this is a time of renewal. This is spring. Let's not, oh my God. All right. I love you so much that I hate this conversation. We are now, so I'm going to shut up, actually. I'm going to not put you in breakout rooms for the moment. I might, if I think that'll go better, but I know there's mixed feelings about that. So for the moment, I'm just going to pause and say, let everybody either start taking out your test and start working on a test correction if applicable, or start working on the other mini project thing if you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you can't work on that anyway. So don't worry about it for the moment. Um, but let's just do that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. Um, but let's do that. Oh, okay. And I'm gonna look in the chat. Oh yeah, no wait. And Kimberly's question is a good question. Right. I think I've got it organized now. Yes. For that homework thing where you're possibly helping someone or being helped, both people go to the same portal. It is that portal that's called homework bonus help participate something. Yes. Whichever side of it you're on, you're going to the same portal. But if you're helping someone, please mention their name once in what you explain. And if you're being helped by someone, please mention that person's name. And that is only so I can cross correlate the two documents, so to speak. Funny story about that. Okay, you're here. Oh, here to show the love. Quick, this is apropos of nothing, but I meant to tell you this funny story about this is a classic college cheating story you've probably heard. This did not happen in my I heard the story when I was in college. Maybe it's not even true. But the classic story is that there's this huge final exam in some hard class, whatever, and everybody's been studying for weeks and weeks, but then these four kids in the class, they decide to go and take a road trip to go study, sort of, and they go on their road trip and they sort of study, but they largely party and do all these other kind of things, and they get all swept up in their road trip. And it's four of them, and they like oversleep and all that kind of stuff, and then they suddenly wake up in the morning and it's actually time for the exam, and they like zoom back from the road trip, and they come, but they totally miss their exam, and they rush in, and they come up with this whole lie and explain to the professor that they're totally studied, they were totally prepared, they totally took the exam so seriously, but they had this horrible like blowout on the highway in their car. Like one of the tires, hit something, punctured, blew out, and then the car had this terrible accident. Everybody was such a disaster that like they're just lucky to be alive, but they wanted to make a point of showing the professor how much they cared, and really it was this terrible flat tire that caused everything, and that's the excuse, and that's the reason. And can they please like just sit and take the exam now, like even though they're really late, like please. And so the professor says, okay, all right, I guess we could, since it was such a terrible thing, and since you're obviously being, you would never lie to me, of course. I'm sure you see where the story's going, but it's like, all right, fine, you could take the exam late, even though I said that was absolutely not at all okay. And I'm going to put you in 4 separate rooms for the exam, of course. And they're like, well, of course. And he's like, so I'll put you in 4 separate rooms, and I'll give you the exam, and yeah, it's all cool. So like, phew, we got away with it. Yes, he bought our crazy lie about the flat tire. Yes. And they go all into their separate rooms, and the professor comes and distributes the exam, and they each get their exam in their separate rooms, and they each open it up, and they find that there's only one question in the exam. And the one question in the exam is, can anybody guess? Does anybody know this story? There's one question in the exam. They're all in separate rooms. They've all lied and said that they got a flat tire, and that's why they were late. Does anybody know what exactly what Aaron said? Way to go. I don't know if you figured that out or if you knew that, but yeah, which tire, right? Oh, and heaven, sorry. I don't know if that, but good job, Aaron. Did you hear that before, or did you just figured it out? Well, anyway, yes, that's, oh, you've heard, okay, but cool. Yeah, I like that story, but okay, yes. And sorry, Heaven, do you have a question, or is your hand still up from before?
Yeah, I have a question. It's kind of like a long question. So I guess one of the biggest, like, I guess concerns on the midterm, that it was like it just looked weird. Like, for example, like number 3, it had like the givens, and then it had the A, and then it had the B, and it just had a lot of points. And I guess that's where I got most confused. Like, even for like the first question, there's a part A, and then like a subsection I, and then 2I, and then each I has like 2 questions, and then a B with it was really confusing for me. And like, if I look at like, it was just a lot. So I guess what would be more better if it was specific what were questions and what wasn't a question.
Oh, Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay. I appreciate that. Yes. And I do think all the sub organization stuff did get too much, and I definitely will not do that for the final. I did notice that, and you're right. And I will, in fact, make it even more explicit in the final exactly what a question is and what it, right. I see you are right. I mean, or I see that point that I too want to now start being more explicit about exactly what my question is. I think you're right that that can be improved, and then maybe that's another reason why now I'd like to take the opportunity to give you guys some points back, because I don't mean this to be right, because nobody is perfect the first time. But yes, that is true. The final, I'm noticing that as well. The final, I will make more of an effort. I think I already have actually. The final will be more explicit that way. That's fair. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just like because some of like the givens and hints have like questions in them. So I'm wondering if that's a hypothetical or is that something I'm supposed to answer?
Oh wait, and that's another. Oh, okay. Yeah, that is also, I will say this too, fair enough. If, and I, again, the larger answer is I'll try to be just much more clean and simple about that on the final. And also I want to say, oh, well, wait, yes, so that's A. B, good point. If I ever give you a hint, I mean, givens are one thing, but hints, it's true. Oh, actually, that's very true. A very good point. If I ever give you a hint, and if a hint has a question in it, you're right. Like, then what I'm saying is my hint is, if you want to try to answer the real question, I really strongly suggest that you try to answer this question first. That's my hint. But you're right. I'm not actually trying to say that you must, right. It's not an official question if it's in a hint. It's not an official question. But that too is a fine line. I mean, she's right to bring it up. I mean, Heaven's right to bring it up, because yeah, that's a perfect example of a fine line. If I give you a hint, and again, I will try to do a better job on the final of being less confusing about this, but if I give you a hint and the hint is like a suggestive question, on the one hand, I am saying, right, that is not an explicit question for points. It's just a hint. Like, you don't have an obligation to answer that. On the other hand, it's probably true that when I go to grade your thing, I'm thinking there's most realistically, that's probably the only way to answer this. Like, I probably can't even think of a good way to go about doing this without trying to address whatever that hint is. So I probably am looking for you. I'm probably like, if you don't do my hint, I'm probably thinking like, oh, either they better really have a really good method here. They're about to blow me away with something really clever, or like, I don't see how they're going to do. Like, it's probably a red flag, I guess is what I'm saying. If the hint isn't addressed at all, then I'm thinking either you're really way ahead of me or way behind me somehow. So it's probably a good idea to address the hint. But you're right, the hint is not an explicit question. And you're right. And all of you too, again, this is all work in progress. And I would feel uncomfortable saying some of these things if I were not also comfortable that we're still all gunning for A's here, or B, B pluses and stuff. Like, this is not, and this is where the love thing comes in. Like, the more seriously I take the details of all your work, the more I am noticing where my work could be better too. And that's also happening between me and Professor Liu. Like, definitely, it's always a work in progress for everybody. And I don't believe that I believe in second chances for everybody, including me in that sense. So, which is why, for example, I appreciate that Heaven's like asking her questions like in a polite way, not like a, dropping a bomb in my mailbox kind of way. Unless it was a Yaverbaum, because that would make sense. But right, so yes, I will. The final will hopefully be far more explicit or clear that way. Uh, 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 okay. Also, chat. Oh, and the Andre. Sorry, the joke. If you don't get the joke about which tire is just the reason that this is just a joke, just because someone put in the chat they don't get it. Maybe they do get it now, but in that joke about the which tire was flat, the reason that's a joke is that they made up this whole lie that they got a flat tire, but there's four of them, and there's four tires in a car. So the professor wants to see if they all say it's the same tire or not. Like, if they have their alibis, like, he knows they're lying. So now that they're all in separate rooms, if they all put down different tires, like, that's a clear indication that they all totally lied. I mean, that's the joke. I mean, it's not that funny, I guess, but we all know it. Right. Okay. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I am being very picky with you guys because because I really do think it's possible for us to do super well in all this and be super prepared for PChem and instrumental and all of that, or whatever it means in COVID. And we can have that. Did we have that conversation yet about next semester? I don't remember. I don't think we have. We can talk about that too, about what's going on in the summer and the fall with your lives and all that. But for right now, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to let you look at your things. Um, yeah, let's just pause. Like, so go. This is also a secret way of having you actually go through and really look at what's going on. So let's just pause. Everybody either work on the test correction thing or work on the other project. It's not that I'm going anywhere. But let's do that for a bit. Oh, and I'm going to turn off the screen share because it's super annoying. Well, oh, 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 yes. Oh, I just got a couple of good questions in the direct chat. If you have a partner and you know who it is, I definitely encourage you to work this period with that partner. And yes, I trust you. If you have a partner, you can either literally leave, if that makes it easier, or I can make a breakout room for you, or you can literally leave and make your own Zoom, or I can make a breakout room. But if you have a partner and you're working this period with the partner, if you've got a way of working with that partner, I want to accommodate that any way I can. And that includes, I trust you guys. Look, and any of you, look, also to be totally honest, right now we're trying to improve our grades. If one of you right now is super stressed about some other class that you're about to have, like this is, and you're going to get, and you're not so worried about these points, or, you can get them later, that's fine too. I mean, right now this is like physics study hall. I trust you. I mean, I don't know any other way to express the love. But yeah, if you've got a partner, or I can make a breakout room for you if that helps. But hold on, so wait. Oh yeah, okay, but here's also why I'm staying to answer these questions in the chat. Like, so there are good questions in the chat. Yeah, like, okay, let me make this clear. Say you lost points on part C of problem 3. If you I do want all of problem 3. I do. I want parts A and B also, just because it all fits together and makes sense. But so you do have to put in that extra effort, especially if you want these points. Even if you got parts A and B right, I do want to see parts A and B again. But you can trust yourself. You can largely just like recopy what you did. You might want to spruce them up a little since it's now an opportunity. Maybe if you even see where you could have done better, but yeah, I do want to see parts A and B again. Even if you got the full credit on them, you can largely just recopy. That's okay. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. But I'm trying to get in the habit with all of you of like coherent packages of physics, if that may self-contained. So please, yes. I mean, and this is kind of just the arrangement for getting points back. If you lost points on part C, I still want to see parts A and B again and how they lead to C. But sure, you can refer and so again, the point is I shouldn't have to flip around in order to read your work. I want your old thing too, so that as a teacher, I can, first of all, I can know how many points to give you back and stuff like that. And I can see your progress. But I want you to if you're giving me a test correction, I want you to give me something that on its own makes sense and is good. It's as though you're taking the test for the first time, if that makes sense. Like, it's not a conversation between you and you, it's a conversation between you and me, if that makes sense. But okay. Oh, yes. Now, okay. And there's one, hold on. Okay. So there's a couple of private chat. I'm going to take a moment. There's a couple of private chats here. I'm going to, I'll also say one thing. Well, no, I won't. All right. So bear with me. I'm going to refer to the chats.
Is it okay if we can work on our corrections now?
No, totally. Please. Yes, absolutely. Very much.
And should we stay in the Zoom or?
I mean, I try, you don't have to, you're kind of staying here kind of just in case you have questions, but you don't have to. I trust you. It's okay. If it, yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh yeah, okay, another private chat. Yes, the more written explanation you can provide, in the midterm corrections, the better. I mean, and the other way, these midterm corrections, and maybe don't even think of them as corrections. It's just more practice and improvement. Like go over. It's an opportunity to go overboard again. So like you're definitely never, especially now, none of you is going to lose points for too much explanation, right? So right here, since we're not under pressure in the same way of a real exam, take the risk, experiment with what it feels like to go overboard with explanations. I do really want like you guys to practice making it clear what you're doing while you're doing it. Like the action might be the equation, but the English is the clarification or the reverse. So yeah, the more you can explain, the better. Um, you might end up explaining. Yeah, explanation is good. Yes.
Professor, I want to say on Monday, I joined the class, I think like 10 minutes late, and I was in the waiting room for like 30 or 40 minutes. And I honestly thought you weren't going to let me in, so I just left the waiting room.
All right, now I was just okay. Now, okay, I'm okay. Okay, I, I,
You're fine. You're fine.
I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna. There's only one solution to this. Boom, boom. That's my solution. My video. No, all right. No, I'm really gonna be quiet. I am gonna. I am gonna be quiet. I'm just gonna be quiet. That's what I'm gonna do. And then yeah, I'm gonna be quiet. But thank you. I think sort.
No problem, Professor.
Oh yeah, sorry. Wait a minute. Oh right, I'm sorry. Yeah, Marissa's question in the public chat is a good one. Um, the question in the public chat is, how do I want? Do I want you to resubmit the entire test with the corrected answers, or only the questions we redid? That's a fair question. I think the easiest thing, frankly, is so redo whatever you do. Like, right, you don't have to redo everything, but you do have to redo all parts of any given problem. But then just what then you could just staple your whole original exam, not staple, but you, redo whatever you redo, and then behind that or attached to that or just another copy of your old exam. Like, yes, give me your entire old exam, even if you're not redoing your old exam, just because I think that will just make it easier on me. I think that answers the question. But yeah. Okay. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. But you know what I'm going to say to every. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. Ignore me. Sorry. You know what I'm going to say too to everybody? I realize, especially because there's always handwriting concerns, or why did I take off these points for that? And again, and sometimes I think I'm right and I just need to clarify it further to you guys, but sometimes I'm wrong. So let me just say too that in fact, these test corrections that I'm asking you to do, it's a perfect place. As long as you're polite and clear, feel free, all of y'all, in your test corrections, you can write like, and I don't quite understand why I lost 2 points over here. I mean, you can communicate with me there too. That might be a very good place if you're worrying about or wondering about certain points that got taken off. Actually putting it into writing, right into test corrections, may make the most sense overall for you and me. I mean, and believe me, if it's an error, then I will correct the error. I won't only give you back half the points. I mean, if it's an error, it's an error. So you might also want to think about that. Any of you who has a concern and or is afraid of texting me or something, put it right into, add it as a note or something in the test corrections. It might make it easier for me to take seriously and thoughtfully. Oh, and sorry, it is, okay, well, so it's 1:28. So, I think we're, okay, so there's no new anything. I think we're good. I think I'm gonna go. I think you guys are gonna go. I think we're all gonna say goodbye. And Godspeed or electron speed, quark speed, quark bless America. If I could just get any kind of, okay, thank you very much. All right, yes.
Bye,
Have a nice,
Professor. Thank
all right,
you.
thank you very much. Have a nice day. Have a good
Have a good
day.
day, Professor.
Have a good day. Have a very good day. Have a, bye. Bye. Awesome. Bye, guys.
Professor,
Yes.
hi, this is Sabrina.
Yes. Hi. Hi.
I had sent you a direct message, but I'm guessing you didn't see it.
Oh, I think I missed it. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it was like kind of an embarrassing one,
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, I can, at this point, it's just like me, you and
hi.
Heaven. Heaven's the homie, so I can just,
Okay.
yeah, so I don't really understand free body diagrams, like, and I know that's like a big thing, and I've just been too like scared to ask because
No.
I know it's an elementary thing.
No.
I understand in theory what they're supposed to be, but like the construction of one, I really don't understand. And I feel like yeah. So I had asked if you could show me because I figured the whole class was probably good with it. But
No, right. Wait, here's the deal. I first of all, I did not see your direct message. I'm sorry. I'm totally psyched. Also, thank you for showing your video. Thank you for being willing to do this in front of Heaven. That's all cool. No, you just got a million points for that. No, okay. The bad news is I have to rush off right now to go get my
that's
stuff. But
totally fine.
but no, you just asked the $1 million question. I'm so glad you here. The fast version is you are definitely not the only one. There's a huge non-understanding of free body diagrams going on here. I'm so glad you sort of like admitted that or whatever. Sure, it's important, but this is what I wish people would do more often. I think it's clear that somehow that's a gap in a lot of people's understanding. And I will show you. I will thoroughly show you. And there's no embarrassment. Like everybody else should be embarrassed for not admitting this. I'm glad you're admitting it. I will show you. I'll even give you points for having going through it with me and learning it. I will not do it right now, but
No, that's totally fine. I would have asked sooner. I just assumed you had a lot of questions and you were responding to all of them. So I thought maybe I just didn't make the cut for the class time.
No. I did miss it because some other people were freaking out the problem is that the mean loud people always get responded to for like some people had.
I'm so sorry if I'm here. I left to make tacos.
What?
And I just came back. I am so sorry.
Wait, no.
No, Heaven, you're good. We finished off class. Like it's done.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Professor. I'm going to depart my way. Bye, Sabrina.
Bye, Heaven.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Okay, have a great weekend, Heaven.
Yeah. Okay. Totally good. Don't want to hold you. But yeah, I'll definitely.
No, I will sit you down. I might even do it with the whole class. No, you definitely win the award for being the first person to admit that. It is not too late. I was just like,
damn, those 2 points could have been 2 points, you know?
There will be more. No.
Like I get the math stuff of all this. Like I took calculus 2 like last year. So like, and you do physics and calculus 2. Like that's what calculus 2 is. So I understand all the mathematical relationship stuff. Like that's the stuff I got right. It's like when you actually apply it in theory, like into real world, that's where like the gap is, because when you learn it in physics, you're really just learning, you know, the integrals and the differentials and all that. Right. But like now I'm in physics where we're trying to apply it, and I'm like, why don't they teach us this in calculus?
No, that is major that you just asked me. I can't tell you. I won't deal with it now, but I will. And remind me on Monday if I don't.
Like, I want to understand this. Like I got an A in calculus too. Like I'm trying to like recreate that energy with like the actual stuff where I can apply it to the real world. Because I was that kid in class who'd be like, okay, I get the math stuff, but like where does this apply? And they would be like, honestly, I don't really know. But I'd be like, okay, cool. You know, that's the math. Side of it, but
and was that at John Jay, or did you that happened here?
No, I took that at LaGuardia, but
you went to LaGuardia. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a transfer student, and so all this is like very different. But
wait a minute, LaGuardia High School?
No, the community college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and then for a second, okay.
No. Imagine.
Wow.
Yeah, no. I took that.
Okay.
Last year in another school.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but you just made a huge, I'm so glad we will totally, like, yes, and it's nice to meet you this way. I totally appreciate it. It helps a lot. I will. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Take
All right.
off. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll
Thank
see
you.
you Monday.
Yes, great. You too. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye.